They are literally building a house next door, so we'll see how this goes. Hi, my name's Nikki. I'm the obsessive bookseller, and welcome to this reading ramble. I want to talk about TBRs and how wildly out of control they always get, and some strategies on what I'm doing to take back control of my life. I'm so efficient with everything else. It's amazing to me that I have yet to find a system that actually works on keeping a manageable TBR. This should be what I've been programmed to do. So, as far as physical TBR is concerned, I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on it. I went through and reorganized everything and put everything in by priority. So, the stuff that I am most excited to read is accessible, it's in my face, and I was sitting there mulling over how to get the same results in my digital archives of my TBR, specifically on Goodreads. This post is actually inspired by my friend Elizabeth. She has no idea, but I have loved her system of creating a manageable TBR for the last few years. Her TBR is so sleek. I went in and checked, and she has only 273 titles on her TBR. And from what I understand, she goes through once a year and takes a look at everything she has added on there and does research on them all and decides whether or not to delete them or commit to actually reading them. And she goes through and sorts them by date added and tries to read everything within that given year of date added. So she's slowly working her way up to present from the oldest year. Last I heard, I think she was on 2018, 17 or 18. And yeah, I mean, she is so systematic with it. I will never be that perfect with it, but I have drawn inspiration, and here's where I'm at. So hers is 273. Mine is at 2,383 titles. And almost all of these are first book in series. So this is not even taking into account everything within a series that I'd have to read if I did start it. It's a bit overwhelming. So step one in trying to get this under control was being willing to go through and delete a few things that I know I'm just never going to read. And I've seen some fun videos that I like watching where people will take the oldest 10 books on their TBR on Goodreads and go through each one and decide whether to keep or delete it. So I thought, I could do that. When my Sunday Shelfie series is done, I can go through and do the exact same thing, and I'll have content for 3 years with that many titles on the TBR. So I opened it up thinking, okay, I'm going to give it a trial run. Let's see if I can do this. And I started going through the first 10. Yeah, I wasn't really excited to read a lot of them, but I didn't necessarily want to delete them and forget about them. So, okay, let's try the first 50. Couldn't bring myself to delete any of them. And so before I knew it, I was all the way through my TBR, and of the 2,383 titles, I had only deleted 5. And most of the ones I deleted were continuations in series that I know I'm not going to read on. So I have this weird anxiety over deleting something permanently. I know my taste as a reader is very fluid. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, are you going to read this much military fantasy? I would have said, no way. I'm not into that. That stuff bores me. And now it's all I can do to read everything on the market. So a TBR, a place where I have listed everything that I have even remotely had a passing fancy in, is pretty sacred. And I don't know if I can bring myself to delete everything on it down to just the ultimate, best ofs. First world problems. I know. But every once in a while, I have a really good idea, and I am still very pleased with myself over this one. So instead of going through and deleting and altering that massive archive of possibilities, I decided to go through, create a separate shelf that I'm calling my TBR Actual. And I went through those 2,383 titles and added to this shelf only the ones that I am excited to read. I curated my own TBR, and it took a while, but it was surprising on how many things that I have on there that I don't want to forget about, but I know I'm not in any hurry to read. And so I was wondering what it would look like if I got just the best of the best down to one narrow list which is essentially what Elizabeth did, but she's a lot more ballsy than me, so she actually deleted things. But no, I added mine to my list, and I have ended up with a manageable, amazing number of 210 titles on my TBR. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, so this actually worked. This is so exciting, and it came along with this incredible, like, mental shift and a weight off my shoulders. I'm not looking at, like, 20 years of reading on this TBR. Now I'm looking to more like 2 or 3. And I know new releases are going to add to that, and I know new things are going to pop up on my must read now list, but adding that into a list of 210 seems so much more manageable. Now, I was inspired to do this back in December. It's almost February. I have been running with this new system for a little over a month now, and I have to tell you, it is so in line with this minimalistic philosophy that I have running in the rest of my life, where it really does pay to focus on the most important things first, and everything else can just go by the wayside. And so now that I have this new perspective on, like, a very manageable TBR, it has been so much freaking fun to pick books from it to read, to the point where I'm going a little hog wild. Like, I think my wrap up for January may be up by the time this video goes up, but yeah, I've just been allowing myself to get excited about all these books that I was picking. Like, I came by my weirdness over this pretty innocently. So when I was a kid, I lived in the sticks, like middle of nowhere, Oak City, Utah. Look it up on a map. We were like 15 miles from the library. Obviously can't walk across the desert to get to it. And then we were a full 2 hours from the nearest Walmart. Digital readers weren't a thing back then, and so all I had were the books I had. And luckily, I come from a family of readers. My mom's a reader. She always has been. She had a collection that I could go through. Thank God for those Scholastic Book Fair things that allowed me to bring new books home. And then my aunt worked at the library in town, and so I was able to come with a few titles that way. But when I was a kid, I reread a lot because new material was a little bit harder to come by. And so when I started working as a bookseller and started noticing a whole bunch of new series that I'd like to try, I kind of hoarded the special ones. Like, oh, I better save that for a rainy day, because I remember back when I didn't have anything new to read, and it was kind of a sad day. I didn't allow myself to read the best books first because I was afraid I wouldn't have any. Now, so much abundance. I've come so far, and there are so many opportunities to read awesome things that I don't need to save for later. There will always be awesome things to read. So I can go ahead and focus on the best books first. And I think now I truly understand what that means, and I'm allowing myself to do it, and I am having a ball. So I'll link my new concise TBR in the description if you're interested in seeing the stuff on my immediate radar. But yeah, I feel lighter. I've mentioned this in a couple of videos, but I am working really hard at not being a victim to my TBR, not being driven by what I'm supposed to read next, and I guess in a sense becoming more of a mood reader. And this is another little nugget that I probably could have done a whole ramble video on. So I've been creating content for tackling TBR since like 2014 on my blog. It involved me sitting down every month and planning out what I'm going to read that month. And it's really easy with that framework to get stuck into a box and to feel either wild success or wild failure based on what I'm able to complete in a single month. And here's the thing, I don't have as much time to read anymore as I used to. And so I'd give myself a list of 10 books. Back in the day, that was totally doable. Now I list out 5, and if I get through 3 of them, I'm happy. A lot of these large tomes that I've been reading take about 3 weeks to get through. So every month for a couple years now, I've been feeling like profoundly disappointed in myself for not having read more content. And so with all of this restructuring of my TBR and a new mindset of minimalism and everything coming together, I am now starting to look more into the long-term bulk of reading as opposed to just short one by month. I'm kind of taking inspiration from the Bill Gates quote, like a lot of people overestimate what they can get done in a year and underestimate what they can get done in 10. And I'm kind of narrowing that down. I'm overestimating what I can get done in a month, but underestimating what I can get done in a full year. And so as long as I'm picking awesome books, at the end of the year, I should be able to look back and say, wow, look at all the cool stuff I read. And it takes off that immediate pressure of having to read so much in the, like, here and now. I hope all that made sense. But it was also kind of fun because I looked at that 210 titles on my TBR and thought, even if I read one book a week, I get to pick 52 of these books to read. How exciting is that? Like 52 of these books I'm going to be able to experience by the end of the year. And the irony of all of this, the ultimate irony, is as soon as the pressure came off and the freedom was given to pick whatever I want, I have read so much in January, so many books I've gotten through, that all of the goals that I've been chasing forever are probably going to just fall in my lap. And it all has to do with like a perception twist. I didn't do anything different in January other than just allow myself to just live in the moment. It's a little bit about looking at the end goal, but it's more about focusing on today and realizing that every step along the path will lead to something awesome. Anyway, I'm getting a bit rambly with this, but it is a reading ramble, so this is all still new. I've only been running under this new system for about a month, so we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you posted, and you'll be able to tell in my attitude on my wrap-ups and TBRs if it's still working. But I would love to hear some of your perspectives on TBRs. Do you find them overwhelming? Is it a point of pressure that makes reading less enjoyable? Do you find yourself rushing through books to get to the next one because you want to read them all? And I'd love to hear if you found anything that really works for you in quieting those voices and that pressure. Thank you so much for joining me on this ramble. I should thank the lovely home builders next door for those nail gun interludes. And I appreciate you being here, and I will catch you next time. Bye.